Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. I was assuming I was this one.
Oh, yeah, you're good. Yeah. Oh, can we move that out of the frame? Yep. Welcome back to the media area. Please join me in welcoming Rory McIlroy. Rory, just some initial reaction to the golf course and maybe a bit about what you remember from 2016.
Yeah, don't really remember much about 2016. I think I just tried to erase it from the memory bank. And then look, it's Oakmont. Even though Gil has come in here and done his thing, it's still a big brute of a golf course, and you're going to have your wits about you this week, all the way throughout the bag, off the tee, into the greens, around the greens. Look, everyone knows what to expect. It's Oakmont. It's going to be a great test.
We're going to open it up to questions on the right, Luke.
Rory, I know the driver plays a role, but if the ball's been getting away from you off the tee a little bit, there's presumably some kind of technical thing going on too. Just wondering if what you've identified in your swing and what you're working on about it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think, especially trying to, hitting a lot of drivers. Every driver is sort of has its own character, and you're trying to manage the misses. So it's definitely a little bit of both. But yeah, I feel like I've, as the last few weeks go, I think I learned a lot on Thursday, Friday last week, and did a good bit of practice at home, and feel like I'm in a better place with everything going into this week.
And what did you learn at home?
I learned that I wasn't using the right driver.
Where's the mic? Right here to Gabby.
Rory, you told us at the PGA that you've accomplished everything you want to accomplish in the game. Feels like there's kind of phase 2 happening right now of Rory McIlroy's life. What is your 5-year plan for this next phase of Rory?
I don't have one. I have no idea. I'm sort of just taking it tournament by tournament at this point. I've no idea.
On the left, Mark.
Hey, Rory. I know it's probably a good problem to have, coming off the Grand Slam, but what is the difficulty of kind of resetting in these last couple of weeks? And what's the challenge that you've found, the last 2 tournaments at least, and as you go forward?
Yeah, I think it's, trying to have a little bit of amnesia and forget about what happened 6 weeks ago. And then just trying to find the motivation to go back out there and work as hard as I've been working. I worked incredibly hard on my game from October last year all the way up until April this year, and it was nice to sort of see the fruits of my labor come to fruition and have everything happen. But at the same time, you have to enjoy that. You have to enjoy what you've just accomplished. And, I certainly, I feel like I'm still doing that, and I will continue to do that. But, at some point you have to realize that there's a little bit more golf left to play this season. Here, Portrush, Ryder Cup, so those are obviously the 3 big things. That I'm sort of looking at for the end, for the rest of the year. But I think weeks like Quail Hollow or weeks like even last week, it makes it easier to reset in some way, to be like, okay, I sort of need to get my stuff together here and get back to the process and sort of what I'd been doing for that 7 months, from October last year until April this year.
Stay back left with Adam.
Rory, have you settled on a driver that you want to use this week, first of all?
Yeah.
What is it?
A TaylorMade.
What model? Are you back to the 10? Or the
come out and watch me hit balls and you'll see.
Okay. And going back to the PGA, how big of a factor was it that you didn't have the gamer driver that you had used at the Masters?
It wasn't a big deal for Scotty, so it shouldn't have been a big deal for me.
Right here in front left, Anne.
Hey, Rory, how tough is it to regain that motivation? And did you think it might be this difficult to regain motivation?
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, look, you dream about the final putt going in at the Masters, but you don't think about what comes next. So, yeah, I think I've always been a player that struggles to play after a big event. You know, after I win whatever tournament, I always struggle to show up with motivation the next week because you've just accomplished something and you want to enjoy it and you want to, you know, sort of relish the fact that you've achieved a goal. And I think chasing a certain goal for the better part of, you know, a decade and a half, you know, I think I'm allowed a little bit of time to you know, relax a little bit, but, you know, we're here at Oakmont and I certainly can't relax this week.
Far right to Kira.
Rory, in the aftermath of the Masters tournament, a lot more demands on your time, even more so than usual. What have you been doing off of the golf course to kind of get back to baseline in the personal sense outside of golf?
Yeah, basically saying no to every request that comes in. Trying to get home as much as possible. Yeah, I'm trying to just do the things that I enjoy. You know, like that was one of my goals for this year was to have more fun. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have more fun. We're trying to take more trips. We're just trying to do things that I enjoy and get back to, you know, having hobbies and, you know, filling my time with the things that I want to do. I think that's been a big, but that hasn't just been post Augusta. I've been trying to do that for a while. I've started to play a lot of tennis again. Like Harry and Niall play tennis pretty much every week when we're on the road, and I've always been like, oh, I don't want to injure myself. I don't want to whatever, but like I miss not playing and so Harry and I played quite a bit of tennis last weekend. So that was good fun. And again, just like traveling and, you know, seeing the world and, you know, giving Poppy that opportunity to see the world at such a young age, I think is a wonderful opportunity for her. So, yeah, just that sort of stuff.
Front left, Gary.
Rory, when you won this in 11, golf course was soft. And so there was this reputation building that soft was your friend. And you mentioned 16, and that was the soft part of the resume for you with respect to this championship. And then the last 6 years, you've been as good as anybody. And you're also really good on firm conditions. Explain the evolution of you being as good as you are in this championship now and also on firm conditions. Is it psychological? Is it ego-driven? Is it physical? What is it?
I think it's probably a combination of both, or everything. I didn't like that reputation because I felt like I was better than that reputation. So that's ego-driven in some way. But I allude to this all the time. Like I missed the cut at the US Open in 2016, 2017, and 2018. And, you know, here in 16, Erin Hills in 17, which, you know, is what it is. And then 2018 at Shinnecock, I felt Shinnecock was a really hard one because I love that golf course. And to perform the way I did there, like it really, like it hurt me. So I made a decision to be like, okay, I want to, you know, and then I would go back, I'd play Hartford the next week and I'd feel really comfortable on a PGA Tour setup. And then I think it was that week where it clicked. It's like, why am I so comfortable here in Hartford, but last week I had no clue what to do. So that's when, you know, I made the decision at that back end of 2018 into 2019. I want to try to build my game around the toughest tests that we have in the game. And then, as you've seen since 2019, 6 top 10s in a row with this tournament, obviously finished second the last 2 years in a row. And I've definitely become a much more competent US Open player, and I'm way more comfortable on those firm, fast setups like you saw at Pinehurst last year and LACC the year before that. So honestly, the US Open probably went from my least favorite major to almost my favorite because of what it asks of you. And I love that challenge.
Standing on the right, Brentley.
This might be a little bit of a silly question, but how much more of a factor is just finding the ball in the rough this week, let alone hitting it, compared to other U.S. Opens, other majors, other tournaments?
Yeah, I'm glad we have spotters up there because I played last Monday, just in Druck's outing, and you hit a ball off the fairway and you were looking for a good couple of minutes just to find it. So it's very penal if you miss. Sometimes it's penal if you don't miss. But that's the person with the most patience and the best attitude this week is the one that's going to win.
Front left, Jeff.
Rory, besides the lost ball element, what did you learn about the course on your scouting trip, and what have you seen in how it's changed in the week since that?
Yeah, there's definitely been a little bit of rain since that Monday. Last Monday felt impossible. I birdied the last 2 holes for 81. So it felt pretty good. Didn't feel like I played that bad. So it's much more benign right now than it was that much. I mean, they had the pins in dicey locations and greens were running at 15 and a half. And, it was nearly impossible. But, this morning it felt, it was a little softer. The pins aren't going to be on 3 or 4% slopes all the time. So, if you put it in the fairway, it's certainly playable. But then you just have to think about leaving your ball below the hole and, trying to, make as many pars as you can. And, you get yourself in the way of a few birdies. That's a bonus.
A few more on the left, Bob.
Rory, at the Players, you didn't drive it great, at least early in the week, but yet you overcame it. You fought your way through it and shot some good scores, obviously won. Is anything the similar that you're going through now with that? And how do you sort of get through it when you're having a tough day off the tee?
Yeah, I mean, Players, the rough's short. They probably cap it. That's like 2.5 inches. And then if you go off the fairway, you're in pine straw, where you have a shot if you have a gap in the trees. And it's definitely more of a, you can play recovery golf at the Players. This place won't let you do that. You got to chop it out and then just try to, make a par from, with a wedge in your hand. So yeah, I felt like I drove the ball okay at Augusta, but again, it's a recovery golf course. You've hit it offline, you can find gaps in trees and you can do something with it. You miss a fairway here, you can't really do anything with it unless you're in the middle of a fairway bunker and you can get something over the lip. So much more penal if you do miss it. And hopefully, I feel a little better with the driver over the weekend at home and even today playing a practice round. So hopefully I can hit a few more fairways than I have been hitting and give myself some opportunities.
Far right. Oh, sorry. Far right, Sam.
Rory, you mentioned just having to chop out every time you miss a fairway. Are there ever calculations where you might decide to go for it, and what would go into that thinking if a ball's in the rough? Yeah,
just a lie. Just whatever club you think you can get on it. If there's a bunker to cover, if there's it's. Yeah. I mean, and the good thing about this course is most of the greens have, run-ups onto them. It's not as if they're forced carries onto greens. So it gives you, if you have a half decent lie in the rough, it gives you a chance to at least run the ball up to the front of the green if you've got a decent lie. But decent lies in the rough are few and far between. So that's why you just have to, you don't want to ride your luck on this golf course.
Last two on the left, Dave and Michael.
Yeah, Rory, just a question about length versus strength. Is strength maybe more important at this golf course than most U.S. Opens, and is it maybe more important than length this week?
Yeah, look, you hit the ball in the rough and you're not going to have any control of your ball going into the green, especially these greens that are pitched away from you. And it's just, you have to be able to spin the ball going into these greens if you want it to finish anywhere close to where you want it to. Saying that, the last two champions here did lead the field in driving distance. I watched quite a lot of 2016 over the weekend and just tried to get a feel for, how the leaders played this golf course and, what they did that I certainly didn't do over the first 2 days. But yeah, I mean, you've got, DJ was just obviously one and Cabrera in 2007. But you had a mix of players that were up there. You had Jim Furyk, finish second in 2016. So I think there's different styles of games that can win here, but I certainly think that, distance is never a disadvantage, and especially on this golf course. But, you want to combine distance with accuracy this week. That's the recipe.
Michael.
Thank you, Julie. Going back your whole professional career and even your amateur career, you've always been very skillful and comfortable talking about yourself and talking about this game. And not everybody is, and I'm wondering where that comes from.
It's probably because I love myself and I love golf. We're pretty comfortable talking about both of those things.
Did you have a kind of mentor for that sort of thing, Chubby, or anybody else give you advice early on how to do it?
No, not really. I think you're always going to be comfortable talking about subjects that you feel like you know a lot about. And I think I know a lot about golf, and especially my golf. There's no one better to tell you about my game and what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling than me. So, and I've always enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed talking about the game. I've always enjoyed the challenge that it presents physically and mentally, and trying to figure out a way to overcome those challenges.
And your dad's a good talker.
My dad can talk with the best of them, yes.
Well, Rory, thanks for the time. Good luck this week.
Thank you.